Welcome, everyone, to the opening debate of Lifestyle and Design Cluster's Circular Furniture Days. We are very excited to see all of you here physically. You will hear us with our mouth and with the natural sound. The mics are for the people listening online. But we thought this beautiful room, which is the design workshop at Design Museum Denmark, we can be together live. I'm happy to be joined by this amazing panel, who will introduce themselves in a minute. But just to set the stage, we are here to talk about how to prepare for a circular future in light of an upcoming legislation called the EU EcoDesign directive. This is not a new legislation, we have experts who will tell you this, but in the future it will be present for more products. And actually, Lifestyle and Design Cluster, along with our co-hosts for this event, Design Denmark, we've had a program over some years called EcoDesign Challenge, where we work to prepare designers and brands and manufacturers for this future. So we will hear from some designers who's been part of this and a few of our experts for this. So thank you all for being here. And now I would like the panel to introduce themselves. Ditte, would you please start?
Sure, happy to. I'm Ditte. I have many different hats. I don't come from a design background myself, but I have been part of a Linear for quite some time, and I have been leading, among other things, our innovations within plastics and textiles, both of which have become furniture. So know quite a bit in that sense, but also architecture in general. I'm also the chairman of the Danish Design Council and a bunch of other things, and I've just finished a book called Danish Design Heritage and Global Sustainability. So very much coming from a perspective of how to use design as a catalyzer for societal change, leading to more prosperity, but within our planetary boundaries, and how design becomes that, you're sort of releasing that potential of design that we could be better at.
Thank you. Henrik?
Yeah, I'm Henrik. I'm the CEO of Design Denmark, which is the largest member organization of designers and design thinkers. And we are very concerned with, first of all, qualifying the discussion about design, and also, of course, making sure that design is part of the new solutions of how to deal with this green transition we're in. And what I usually argue very strongly for is that what designers bring to the table is a very holistic view. So what we're talking about today is kind of like one part of the green transition, but it's very important that designers are in the midst of that discussion, because designers bring that holistic view to the table. So it's of course about materials and stuff like that, but it's also about behavior. It's also about designing things that can adapt to different circumstances. So the holistic perspective is very important for me.
Thank you. Christina?
Yeah, my name is Christina Strand, and I'm the one half of the design company called Strand & Vass, and we are designing furniture, mainly furniture for the contract market. And we actually designed furniture in a quite big amount, or sold in a quite big amount, so we find it very important that we are responsible about the design we're doing, and we are actually trying to even visit old designs to redo it so it can meet this green transitions. We're also very proud of being like we had the first Danish chair to be EU eco-labeled. So that's like something we've been proud of and working with.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Nikolaj Sørensen. I'm a partner in a small design company, Hyatt & Sørensen. We do industrial design and some furniture design. And we are trying to survive the green transition. Trying to convince our normal clients to be, behaving in a more sensible way. Not easy at all, but trying to.
And Anne?
Yes, my name is Arne Rimmel. I'm a professor at Aalborg University, but on the campus here in Sydhavn. And I'm the one who have worked with this EcoDesign directive for the past, it's in fact in place since 2005. but up till now it has mainly been related to energy using and energy related products. But it was more or less decided a couple of years ago, but now it's entering into force that it should also cover more or less all products, you could say, and including textile, and they have a big challenge, I think. The furniture, I don't think have the same amount of challenge, but there are of course also some issues there. And very briefly, you could say the directive have up till now mainly focused on energy efficiency, and it has been the most efficient policy tool in the EU and really increased the energy efficiency. All the products you have at home, if they are less than 15 years old. And now the understanding is we need to move to the next level, and that's circular economy up here, and understand that it's not just about the energy efficiency of the product, it's also about the embedded energy in the product. So looking at the material choices and all of this at the same time.
Yes.
But I get back to
yes, that was actually, you are quite right to continue on, because you are the Danish expert on eco-design, and I know you hate when we say that. But just to give a brief introduction of this, what are eco requirements? What are they in terms of a legislative framework? What do they do in the market? You said they phased out energy use intensive products, but can you give us a bit more, what is an eco requirement and eco design requirement?
Yeah, and I suppose mainly the one coming up.
Yes.
Because you could say, perhaps you noticed last year they were they took the old meter, you could say, the A+++ that you saw on some refrigerators down to, in fact, if you bought last year before the 1st of May A-label refrigerator, it was the poorest on the market. So they throw out this labeling and renewed and said it was impossible to have an A for this year and the coming years until somebody was inventing it. And then they rescaled the whole scale, and it means you can be happy if you go and buy a B label today, because that's probably the best performing. And the reason why this has been because of the EcoDesign, because it says minimum performance requirements. So it means it has some thresholds, and if you are not better than this threshold, then you are not able to marketing it, your product on the European internal market. So in that sense, it's a really strong policy instrument, and I think over the years the politician in the EU has grown more and more happy. So talking about what we could call the EcoDesign Directive 2.1 is that they strengthen these things, and then they say we don't only focus on the energy efficiency, more or less we focus on all the issues. I'm not free commercial here. They are focusing on all the issues, and I would say related to the furniture, I think durability will be very interesting. Bicycling down the road here and looking at all the old furniture in the shops, you could say, wow, I think Denmark have a strength here in the sense of they keep the value. So that's part of the idea, to keep the value of the products. So
thank you.
And long-lasting products, I would say, is the most important. But of course, the holistic view is that many of the others will be related to this, easy to repair and stuff like that. And also some recycled content will. Don't mix it too much, I think, but having products like this is also very nice. So, yeah.
Yes.
He only gave me 2 minutes, it's amazing.
And I wanted to, because you say it's the future, and I wanted to break it to someone who's done the future. You did it at Lena, but also at the Circular Way, have been living the future. And could you tell us why it's different from what many people do today, because it sounds great, durability, and we can use it again and again. Why is circular thinking so different from status quo?
Yeah, I think that a starting point, Anna was talking about durability as a key strength of Danish design. Looking more into it in the book as well, I think the key strength from Danish design perspective is actually the ability to combine a social purpose with aesthetics and heighten the overall value of it. That's something that's quite unique if you look at a Danish versus an Italian design, etc. And I think that's what we really need to bring to the situation we're in today. That it's not just about durability in itself, but it's really about that philosophy of heightening the overall aesthetic and the overall design by using sustainability and our planetary boundaries, EcoDesign, as a creative constraint. And that's what we've been successful at, really saying, okay, taking a stand with the materials and using the fact that there are a certain amount of materials available and using it not as a reason to do a little less bad. We're quite used to sustainable design being more inconvenient, more ugly, at a higher price. And we need to turn that around, because if there's one thing that design has always been really good at, it's designing within particularly constraints, and that heightens the overall design. But for some reason, as an industry within sustainability, there was this notion that, oh, actually when it comes to sustainability as a barrier, it's fine that we just do a little less bad, and we need to be more ambitious on heightening the value, and that's what we've been doing, and that's why it's been successful. But it really comes down to starting with the material. That's the biggest difference from a design perspective, starting with the material and then using that as a positive creative constraint rather than a barrier holding you back from a design perspective.
Interesting. And it almost sounds like we're so good at it in Denmark. So Henrik, over to you and your members. Will all Danish furniture just be approved? Can they live up to the criteria?
Well, not from a starting point, I would say. But actually, she really took some words right out of my mouth, because when I'm talking about the holistic view, it is really, the combination of the social purpose, the aesthetics, and the material, which is then the focus of the EU directive. But if you look at why the EU, what they give it as a reason, it feels not as much as the future as it feels like the end of the past, in the sense that they're talking about that we need to detach economic growth from materials. So if we can reuse, we can continue to grow economically. They talk about as a way to protect our borders, our European borders. We don't need to be, dealing with Putin or other countries that we don't like. And it's also kind of like it's a continuation, the way that they talk about it, of the domination of nature, in a way. That how can we use new methods? How can we make this the lifespan extend, instead of having that honest conversation with the material, as I think we've been so good at in Denmark. So what we're doing in Design Denmark together with Lifestyle and Design Clusters and Arne is that we're doing a yearly masterclass, you could call it, in 360 degrees.
For everybody at home, there is a poster on the wall with the principles of circular economy. That is not visible to people watching at home. But
sorry about that. but kind of like a 360 degrees review masterclass of all the different aspects of this. And for me, it's part of the discussion about how to bring designers to the table. And of course, the EU directive, that is the reason that we can bring them to the table, because the producers, they need to adhere to certain standards. So if we have designers that can do that, then we have one foot in the door. And then the social purpose and the aesthetics, that is what I know that they're so good at bringing to the table as well. So for me, it's kind of like it's a strategy of how do we put our foot in the door to make something that is more sustainable in the larger sense than just talking about the EU directive in itself.
Right, so designers are crucial, and that's why we have two of them here. No hidden agendas in this room. Christina and Nicolai, you both took part in the EcoDesign Challenge and have worked with interior companies and producers to be more circular. Can you talk about, and maybe Christina you can start and then Nicolai can support, what was it like making them think and produce more circular?
It was quite interesting to be a part of this program, because when I entered, I saw that I knew everything. And suddenly you put all these clever designers in the same room.
Then you met Arne.
And I met Arne, yeah, true. Also, I met Arne. But all these clever designers combined with Arne and other really clever minds, we like built on each other. And it was so obvious that when you put a lot of designers together in groups to work together, magic can happen. So I would say that if I wasn't aware of how important designers are, I definitely realized that doing.
What was it like making producers and brands transition and working with them?
In this case, from my point of view, not that important. It was much more meeting the whole group and all the knowledge together. Afterwards, I have been using what I learned, and I have tried to push some of our the companies we're working for. We have tried to push them very far actually, also not always with luck, but yeah.
Nikolai, please elaborate.
Yeah, I had the experience that it was, I was really surprised on how great an impact it had on me as a professional. It, in quite intense way, changed my focus on looking on these topics, and as Christina said, when we came home, it has changed my work quite a bit, actually, much more than I expected. Because when I entered the course, I was like, what can they teach me? But then I realized, okay, a lot. So it was.
You're welcome.
But it actually had a great impact, and even immediately on our office.
Yeah, and I would love to, before Henrik gets the floor, ask you to be more specific, because it's not just an ad for a great program, but what did you change, like in the specifics, the material
okay.
or the products?
For instance, one of Arne's main takeaways are that we need to be keep a focus on making solid and really good quality, and if possible, make products that are possible to repair in the future. And that small thing is something that we have immediately we are using every day in our products today.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to hear this, that is actually the collective hive mind of the designers and Arne. That is the big revelation, and then you go and you need to push it to the producers. It's interesting because this year we're actually extending the kind of like the hive mind part of the masterclass. So that's a plug for that. That we are going even deeper into the material. But then it makes me think that when we're doing a version 2.0 or 3.0 or where we are, then maybe it's the producers we should work more deeply with as well, to make sure that they understand what's there to gain. Of course, time will make them understand that, because the EU directive will make sure of that. But maybe we can push a little bit.
Did you also have a comment?
No, it's just because you were asking about the producer and everything going on. And one of the things that we work a lot with and that I think a lot about is how the context of which we're designing within has changed and what that means for the design profession. So if you look at basically more or less all of the successful Danish design stories from the last 10 years, that has been the companies that has created the most growth and have been able to sell their companies to a VC or PE fund. So completely and 100% driven by sales and exchange rather than use value of the design objects. And that's just something that whenever we do, even when we talk about durability and repairability, we really need to be mindful of how do we engage with that context of how do we make sure that the producers are actually incentivized for the long term to move in that direction, because right now it's a little bit, sometimes I'm a little bit fearful that we're running and running and running, but we just keep reproducing the same quite unfortunate structures, and that's why, from a circular perspective, when we start doing repairability and then sort of like looking towards, can it be about a product as a service business model? How do we, as from a design perspective, engage with that broader context of which we put the designs into use into, and be mindful of all of that? And it becomes a little bit complex, but I think it's something that we really need to be very mindful of, otherwise we risk reproducing what we're actually trying to change.
For sure, and we don't want to reproduce the world, we want to change it. And Anna, I would like to bring it to you because you've seen and monitored the shift that EcoDesign did for electronics. Do you think this is just a circular icing on the structures as is, or do you think it has the potential to change the industry?
Well, definitely it has done when it comes to energy efficiency. So, I think it will push. It will, put the playing field on a higher level in the future. But I totally agree. You can do something on the material side and on the technical requirements to durability and stuff like this. But as you are indicating, both of you, it's also very much on what you could call the emotional durability, that you love your sofa so much that you go and have put on new textile and so on. So I think that the additional role of the designers, that it's not just about materials and technical requirements. It's also very much about that we like the design so much that we want to keep it in use. So that's at least additional. I have a bit of difficulty imagine how to make standards that can support the emotional durability of products. But of course, if the technical part is right, then it's perhaps also easy to work with the other parts.
But maybe we can bring back that to the designers.
Yeah.
Like, how have you started designing differently when you think about durability, both in terms of material and emotional and the attachment?
The hard part is to figure out we are having some things that we want to do, but we are having clients that are living from selling. So how can we make something that is appealing to the end client in a way that is not, you're not buying stuff just because it's having a great high score on circularity. You're buying stuff because you need it or you like it. And so we need to, as designers, to look out, on the other side, to look at the end clients and try to understand what is going on. And at our office, the problem is that here in Denmark, locally, it's kind of easy to do things that are popular. It can be quite expensive and still do a good business. But when it comes to products that are being sold all over the world, then it becomes more complicated for us to understand the end client, and we need to be more careful about not luring our client into something that is not okay for his business or her business.
Christina, I would like to talk to you about, you said you design a lot for companies who do many pieces and high quantity, and you're also revisiting old designs. How can you make an old design more circular? What is it that you're doing?
Actually, going back and redesigned the whole mountain system. So today we have like a plastic shell with no metal brushes into it. So it's just a quite clever system where you just have the whole connection to the frame as a molded into the plastic shell. So it's very easy to take the frame from the shell, and even if something breaks, you can easily rebuild it and change it. Or we even have examples of a company who decided we want to keep the frame, it's a metal frame, but we like another color. Of course, it would be great if they just kept it, but they choose another color and they could change all the shells on the frames. So we are really trying to make our furniture very easy to disassemble.
And does this have economic benefits as well, or is this a fight?
Definitely, it's exactly a really good challenge to have this kind of the design problem, because the design turns into be much more efficient in production. So it's much more easy to actually assemble, and it's easy to send out in the world. So sometimes like the frame is made in locally, and only the shell will go very closely stacked to the country where the furniture is sold.
No, it was just a comment, because I think also the benefit can be when you provide this service, you will also have more interactions with the client, the customer. So this kind of interaction is perhaps more important in the future than it has been now. We sold it and we cross our fingers for 2 years and then we forget about it. Yeah. So this type of services, I think we'll see much more also when you have focus on the durability of the product. These services become much more interesting than it perhaps have been in general, I would say. Yeah.
But actually, I think the biggest responsibility as a designer is to make design that is long-lasting. And it's not only long-lasting because it's very strong, but also visual long-lasting. So we have to go into this. So make like fast design in a cool color for this event today. That doesn't work. We have to think further.
Of course.
Yeah.
Henrik, you were marking when it said services. What are the designer's role in designing the services of the future?
Well,
the systems?
I think it comes with the territory of understanding. I'm pointing again.
Still pointing at the graphic.
Still pointing at the graphic. Sorry about that. Understanding the 360 degrees of circular economy, because it seems that the role of designers has been shifting. Not only at schools, they now have to not only master the craftsmanship, they also need to master the strategic design thinking and so on and so on. And furthermore, they also need to be almost engineers, because it's almost like it's designers who has the responsibility when they come to the producers of knowing the entire kind of like product cycle and the material qualities and stuff like that. So the designers are instrumental in this transformation of society, deeply instrumental, because producers they need to be pushed a lot more. And then
it was just in terms of the role of the designer, and the role of designer is definitely changing. I think one important point to be very mindful of is what is unique to design, and being able to describe that quite, sort of like shape making and all these different things that are unique to design, intentionality of continuously asking questions. And then one of the things that we need to get much better at is collaborations with other professions, which has been something that perhaps have been a little bit difficult from a design perspective, at least coming from architecture, where I'm quite used to working. It's quite often been that the architects are there initially or at the end. It's sort of you do concept, and then the building ends up being something completely different. Or from a design perspective, you're in at the final stage, and then it just becomes much more expensive to do in a sustainable way. And we need to get much better at working with other professions so that design is present throughout the entire value chain and not just in one of the two. And that's, we can point fingers and sort of that it's others, but there's a key importance in, from a design perspective, really being able to articulate the value that design brings, and then also from that being able to see that the others has value as well. The engineer isn't just an annoyance to the final design or the financier. So there's something in really that we get much better at learning to work together and collaborate, and realizing that we all have different capabilities, and the final design needs to have all of it embedded. And I think that's really something where, in general, we have much improvement to do.
Much improvement and collaboration. We like that. Nikolai, did you have a comment?
I just want to say that I think that the design profession in general is very good at bringing in other professions, and I don't think that we need to be engineers. We just need to be good at call for the urgency of having an engineer who knows about this problem. For sure. And that's a quite common thing, and I think it's quite obvious to have a designer to point out different experts. A normal thing for designers to do.
Great. I like that, not having to be everything at once, because that's also a growth and impossible, but collaboration. In the spirit of preparing for the circular future, I would like to talk about what a law is also going to make some things illegal. So to all of you, what are some practices that we do today, components of furniture that you believe maybe in 5-10 years we will not see anymore? What will either be designed out or just illegal in the future in terms of furniture and interior?
I have a question to Arne about that.
Well, hopefully they will design out waste.
Yeah.
That was the quick answer. But of course, I can imagine a lot of other product groups that have much bigger problems.
Yeah.
And also, if you compare to textile and read the textile strategy of the EU, it's really harsh, you could say, in the sense of putting up really strict measures and saying fast fashion is out of fashion. So, okay. So I don't think, well, there are of course manufacturers and producers also related to
fast furniture.
The fast furniture, yeah. It's perhaps talk to IKEA, but IKEA is all over the place when it comes to circularity also. So it's I think several of the big companies have taken up this agenda also seriously.
Dita, do you have a thing in the future you think is going to be obsolete?
Yeah. Designing for obsolete is hopefully definitely going to be, but I think we will see composites that we will not be allowed to do because we don't need them. That's one. And then I think actually from a designing with waste perspective, and I actually hope that will happen, that there will be some materials that we will not, some waste materials that we will not be allowed to put in to furniture, particularly within food grade plastics and all these different things that are in higher demand than supply. We will get more sophisticated in making sure that the waste resources are reutilized at the highest value possible, where we're not really there yet.
Do you, Christina, have, or maybe?
I am very aware we have a upholstery problem right now. Upholstery problem right now. And the whole upholstery industry has been quite big for a long time in the whole public area. So that's something we're going to work with, and something about disassembling and maybe thinking smaller amount of material and stuff like that. We are definitely going to look at that. We already are.
Yeah.
Using the right kind of tree, like not using oak all the time. That's a very simple thing.
Right. And then maybe framing the question otherwise, and this is the last question I have before I open the floor to you guys, so if you have any questions for the experts, would be, what thing in 5 years do you believe will be commonplace that everybody will just do, so that maybe we can give a leg up to those listening, they can start doing it now and be ahead?
I think the whole demand comes from the bottom. So if you meet like young interior architects, they right away ask about the environmental impact about your design. So in that way, I think that, I lost the thread. It's sorry.
So new designers know implicitly what to do.
Yeah, but what I'm really wondering about, I actually asked Arne a bit about this before the meeting, is that I just came home from Milan, and all over Milan they are making recyclable chairs, or chairs made out of in-factory recyclable material. And as far as I can see, there's so many recyclable plastic chairs right now that I doubt we have plastic enough. So this is really my question to Arne. Do we have recyclable plastic enough?
Well, it's at least I remember in the textile strategy they are conscious about this, and also what Dita mentioned before, we should have more closed loop. So the plastic bottle should perhaps be a plastic bottle in the future also, and not be.
We actually also have.
I have a hard time saying it's downgraded to, but we should be conscious about these things. There are rumors around that the bottles don't even becomes bottled before they get the recycled polyester into new stuff and so on. So I don't know if this is right, but of course certainly there is a lot of focus on recycled materials, especially polyester in the textile industry.
I wanted to say that we have a talk tomorrow as well about plastic in furniture and whether we can actually close the loop. So
and others welcome.
We will come back.
Everybody is welcome. But we also have plastic change and the designers of the furniture that you're sitting on and standing on. So we will dive more deeply into the plastic discussions tomorrow. Did you have something about what's going to be commonplace?
Yeah, and also just on the plastics, it's it's complex and it will be for quite some time. The most important thing is that our motto is design the world of tomorrow with the waste of today, while designing a world without waste. And that's because we want to be super mindful that we're not incentivizing the continued use of virgin plastics, which is happening today. So that comes down to when we do our production and our capex and or investments into production equipment, if we're spending, let's say 50 million on a new production facility, then we've invested in the plastic waste being there for a very, very long time, and then we incentivized the wrong system. So that's something that we want to be mindful of going forward and in current, because we really, really need to get much better, and there's definitely a lot of plastics that shouldn't become furniture, that shouldn't become textiles, but the problem is much bigger. If you look at the amount of capital that has been committed to pyrolyse and these different sort of where you take the plastic and turn it back to oil before turning it back to plastic again, but at a much higher reduction, that's an even bigger problem. So I think for some years there's more than plenty of plastic for furniture. We just need to make sure that it's the right plastic and that we are not creating incentives for the continued use of virgin plastics. And then I think for the future, we're gonna be. I saw the Velos collection over there where they have the chip so you can follow the material. I think that's going to be, the transparency is going to luckily play a much larger part so that it will be more transparent, and that will be a key driver.
Okay. I see Anne has gone, but I want to make sure that we have time if someone has a questions from the room.
Plenty.
Many. Okay. Down here.
But like all.
And I will say the question again for the people on the stream.
Like you talked about the loop with the recycled plastic. There's going to be a lot of companies doing that the next like 5 to 10 years, and they're popping up all over the place. So we're doing a lot of recycling. Does this really make sense, or are we just like trying to like put like something over the gap right now? Or is it just like pushing the problem further away?
So is plastic recycling just pushing the problem or the waste problem further down the line? Any quick remarks? Yes?
No, I think we should, like also Ditte indicated, be very careful in this sense, because in many ways you also see a lot of stuff being hidden in the cement construction and stuff like that, and it's totally stupid in my opinion. We shouldn't mix up everything. So keep it simple and don't transfer it to a future waste problem that we do in several ways. At the same time, I like this product, so we should find good solid ways to use it and make designs that looks nice and are functional and all these things they are good at, the designers. It's not me, but
Did a short comment and then we'll take.
And I think it's also just that we need to be it's a super relevant thing to be mindful of, but there will never be a simple yes or no answer to it. It really depends on is it a monoplastic that would be of use elsewhere, or do we have, can we treat symptoms that are relevant today but shouldn't be there long term, because there's just the amount of plastic that's of a really, really shitty quality that can't be reused or recycled for the same purpose is very much there. And then it is most likely better than having it burned or whatever in a dump site.
Is there a non-plastic related question? We'll take those tomorrow. Many hands. First row here.
Yes. Are there bold initiatives or dialogues around something that surpasses industry or production, meaning like including the original material or the nature, the source of the furniture, including that to this circular cycle, and bringing customers to the environment where the furniture was originally made, and like this connection with the nature and the material that the material of the end product, something that is more than the designing act or industry. It's more of a spirituality between like more than human approach.
Okay, I will say it for the people online. Is there talks, or do you know of any projects about more than design, human, bringing users back to the material? You should have been there. The question was better than I'm phrasing.
I think that's the next step. At least from where I'm coming from, it's kind of like that what we do with design is we create touch points to the world, we create modes of viewing and grasping the world. So the point of view should be, should it all be about how can we create objects that are servicing our instant gratification, or should we create something that has deep connections to the world? Because the way that we connect with the world is also the way that we are. So for me, it's the next logical, ethical question when we come to the end of the road of the circular transition. If we ever come to that, at the same time we need to have the spiritual transition. So
and the word regenerate is really coming up, and part of that is also related to what you are talking about. It said renewable up here, but I think regenerate is really upcoming. You find it in several places. I can remember one design project done in Aarhus some years ago, because they had the elm sickness, I think. So there was a lot of trees cutting down, and then you could order furniture based on these. So that was also this with the relation and the social, emotional part of it. There was some very nice designs, but as far as I know, they didn't continue after they have used the
We have
materials.
time for one more question. Some have been persistent, you've been persistent also. Quick question.
About durability, because I heard that durability is going to play a major part in the directive. But how do the Commission measure the durability? What are the criteria for durability?
So the question is about measuring durability in furniture.
Yeah, but I don't know to extent what there already are standards, but normally there has been developed a generic standard for what you should do in order to consider durability in different product groups. But the good news, if you're feeling the pressure, is that these things in EU normally is a very consensus-oriented process where you put down a committee where people can join. I have joined several virtually without going there, but follow the discussions and so on. And then the trade is taking part in defining these specific measures. And in the first run, they normally will go for what is it called? A level where most companies can follow this, and then they will, within 3 years, they will announce, then you should have this level. So I know, because I spoke to Gabriel last week, that, for example, when it comes to the furniture textile, there is a lot of standards for this already. So they were saying, okay, just come. So there they have all their own measures for doing this, and it will, of course, then in the future mean that we hopefully will have textile for the furniture that lasts longer.
They're not decided yet.
What?
No.
Not to my knowledge. Then there has been a secret group.
And I think this is a
But
great...
Henrik should participate, or some from Lifestyle and Design Cluster should go to these meetings.
I think this is a great place to end, because it's true when we're talking about the EcoDesign directive, many things have not been decided yet, and as Anna said, it is collaborative process, so everybody can at some way be voiced. But you can also follow the continuation of the EcoDesign Challenge, and this year there will be, I just heard, 7 workshop or webinars that will be open to the public, where I'm sure Anna will probably speak and some other clever people will be there. So we will, if you've registered with the event on our website, we will send you a link to that after this event, so that you don't get spammed with all the webinars, but though you have an option to sign up for those via Lifestyle Design Cluster and Design Denmark. But with that, I just want to say thank you to everybody here physically, and thank you to the panel. Please stay, I have a little something for you. And thank you. Thank you.